You're listening to episode 64 of the Comics Pals. We're a group of comic book journalists who record a podcast together because we don't talk enough about comics in our daily lives.
I imagine when 95-year-old Stan Lee ejaculates, it's just a puff of smoke that comes out.
God damn it.
It's a puff of smoke, but then it's also an onomatopoeia for what that sounds like. It's like poof.
Excelsior.
Or it's like hiss.
The worst part is that he didn't even do it. He had someone else do it. But he took all the credit.
He took credit for it?
I just got that.
He had to starting the show on a slow burn.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a slow day overall. So I'm starting to catch up now, yeah. Welcome to the show. On that note, as you can imagine, we're going to be talking about Stan Lee.
But not his penis, hopefully.
Well,
I mean, it depends on how much you decide to bring it up.
We're going to be talking about it a lot then.
Right. So
I can't promise it won't come up.
I don't know if this is supposed to be funny.
Yeah, we're losing listeners real fast.
Look at the live ticker, guys. It's going down.
Yeah, so let's pivot away from that and let's just introduce ourselves real quick. So I am the host of the show. I'm Sean. I'm joined by Pete.
Hey.
Marco.
Hello.
Phil.
Hello.
And Kale.
I'm Kale.
And you guys can find our show all over the place. We are on iTunes. We are a 5-star rated podcast because we are 5 cool guys. You can contribute to that by leaving us a rating there. And of course, we are on all other podcast hosting platforms. We're on every social media platform. So wherever your social media is sold, you can find us.
Get us on MySpace.
Maybe not.
Where musicians connect.
You can write to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com. You can write in with a random question of the week, a buy or sell, your thoughts on whatever we talk about on this or any other episode. So shoot us an email there. And then, of course, we are on YouTube, where you can leave us a comment if you are watching this on YouTube. You can like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Those subscribes help us out a lot, and we really appreciate them. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel anyways, because it's great, and there's some really good stuff on there. So make sure you're not missing out and hit that subscribe button.
Or you could at least make me feel good about myself.
Pete needs an ego boost.
Yeah.
Validation.
Absolutely. So why don't we jump right into this deal and start with something brand new. So we're in a good mood today. We're all together except Kale, who lives in
Narnia?
Pretty
much. Nailed it.
We are all together in Pete's house with the ghost of Kale, and we've decided to do something brand new for you guys. So I'm going to pass it over to Phil, and he's going to direct this.
So for our new content this week, we are going to do a Flash speed round trivia. Flash is a really fast running guy, if you didn't know, listeners.
Who?
And so we're going to compete 2 pals against one another in comics trivia to see who knows more about Stan Lee.
No.
Because that's tasteful this week.
Wow. Oh my God. All right.
So we're going to pit Kale and Pete, because Kale is in a mystical land and Pete is in the room with us. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask 7 questions. Kale's going to take his headphones off while I ask Pete these 7 questions. And then afterwards, I'll ask Kale the same 7 questions. Whoever answers the most wins. And if there's a tie, whoever answered the fastest will have the tiebreaker. Does that sound good to you guys?
Sure.
60 seconds on the clock.
So whenever you guys are ready, Kale, take your headphones off.
Okay.
I'll signal you with my thumb.
Oh boy. All right.
Let's see how much
Put
you
me on the
know
spot here. Let's do it.
about Stan the Man Lee.
Who has the timer?
I can do that.
So, in the meantime, let's reflect on how good Stan Lee is. His penis.
Okay.
I guess I should have limited the first question.
How good is Stan Lee's penis?
All right.
Let's put a moratorium on that phrase. Like, let's not say that anymore.
I'm sorry. Wait, on the phrase Stan Lee's penis.
Yeah, let's not say that. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Okay. Start the clock.
Let's go.
Stan Lee, with the help of what famous creator, created the Amazing Spider-Man?
Steve Ditko.
In what year was Stan Lee inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame?
Oh, pass.
What does Stan Lee's signature catchphrase Excelsior actually mean?
Oh, I don't remember. Pass.
A week into working at Timely Comics, Stan Lee got his major break on what book?
Captain America.
Name one of two famous writers that Stan Lee worked with during World War II in writing training films for soldiers.
Oh, pass.
Why is the Incredible Hulk green, according to Stan Lee?
The real reason he's green is because of a printing issue. But okay.
And final question, what were the names of the characters he pitched to Playboy?
Stripperella? No, that's the cartoon he did. I don't know. Pass.
I'll do an eighth question. Which cameo of
Go
his
back to
was
the
his-
beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, ask me the cameo question.
Yeah, okay. What's his favorite cameo, according to him?
Was it?
Oh, I didn't even get to ask it because you fucking hemmed and hawed. Thanks, Phil.
Do you know?
The rule is
Spider-Man 2.
Nope.
Okay.
The rule is
Just go back.
yeah. You go
Okay.
back to the beginning, give them the opportunity to answer any questions that they passed.
I was going to take a guess on the induction one.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kale, you ready?
Yep. So am I going to get the same amount of time because Pete and Sean had a whole conversation in the middle of that, or?
No,
you got 60 seconds.
we stopped it at 60.
Okay.
All right, Marco, whenever you're ready.
And go.
Fucking smart, Alec.
Stan Lee, with the help of what famous creator, created the Amazing Spider-Man?
Steve Ditko.
In what year was Stan Lee inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame?
Pass.
What does Stan Lee's signature catchphrase Excelsior actually mean?
Great job.
A week into working at Timely Comics, Stan Lee got his break on what book?
Oh fuck. The Rawhide Kid?
Name one of two famous writers that Stan Lee worked with during World War II in writing training films for soldiers.
Yeah, pass.
Why is the Incredible Hulk green, according to Stan Lee?
Gray wouldn't show up on the printer.
What were the names of the characters he pitched to Playboy?
Pass.
And what year was Stan Lee inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame?
Done.
all right. So
I'm our champ.
Pete answered 3 questions right, and Kel answered 2. So Pete wins.
Just to go over the answers, it was Steve Ditko that he created Spider-Man with. He was inducted in the Will Eisner Hall of Fame in 1994. Excelsior, which is also the motto of New York State, is ever upward. A week into working at Timely Comics, he got his break on Captain America. The two famous writers he wrote training films with were Dr. Seuss and Frank Capra.
Oh.
Fuck.
The Incredible Hulk is green because of printing errors. His favorite cameo, which was a throw-in question, was Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. And the names of the characters he pitched to Playboy were High Priestess Clitana and Lord Peckerton.
Oh my god.
High Priestess Clitana is amazing.
I was blown away the first time I heard that.
That's
That's
funny, man.
amazing.
The Dr. Seuss thing, I did know, but I could not, like, I was just not remembering it on the spot. The Eisner thing, like, I thought it was way later than that. So
I would have said earlier.
I thought it was like 2000s. Like, I thought that happened while I was paying attention to comics.
Right.
It was 1994.
I also know that he had a period of time where he was working on like children's comics, and that's where my answer for the Rawhide Kid came from.
Yeah, the Captain America one was one of the ones I got right, because I remember that was part of the reason he revived Captain America for the Avengers, was that he was such a big fan of him.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We don't have a name for it. We'll name it later.
Come up with a name.
Yeah,
if you've got a name for
sure.
the segment, give it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, write in. Let us know your thoughts on the game.
And if you have other things that you want us to do trivia blitzes
Yeah,
on,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely do share that with us.
you can send us questions too if you really want.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So now we've got some reader mail to take care of. So Pete's gonna handle that.
Yeah. Here, so we've got 2 bits of reader mail that both come from YouTube this week. We got a write-in on episode 62 and 63 of the show, so the last 2 episodes. We got one from our good buddy, Mr. Jimmy, our favorite pal.
Jimmy!
Jim.
Pal out there.
That's right.
Who goes by Snake of Talons on YouTube, and he writes in on our episode 62 all about Doomsday Clock, the best of 2017, and our predictions for 2018. And Jimmy writes in and says, My favorite news story was when Bendis left Marvel for DC. I think it says the most about how bad Marvel comics were in 2017, and I could have never seen this coming. My favorite comic of 2017 was definitely Snyder's Dark Knight Metal series. If I had to pick a single issue, it would be Batman Lost. My favorite comic book film was Wonder Woman, and this movie had more heart than any of the others, even if the ending was meh. I agree with you. My favorite Comic Pals interview was the one with Yannick Paquette. It was nice to hear his and Morrison's process on Wonder Woman Year One. That was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, it's a real good one.
Earth One, by the way.
Thanks for the love.
Yeah, Earth One. Sorry about that. I think Affleck will leave Batman in 2018, and I will be happy about this. I don't know why we got an old grizzled Batman with a young Justice League. Of course, besides to fulfill Snyder's wet dream, wait. I'm sorry. Wet dream of Batman mowing down criminals with tank caliber weapons. The hell was BVS? Marvel definitely publish Fantastic Four comics in 2018. It would be crazy if they didn't after buying Fox and starting to set it up for Marvel 2-in-1. I think I'll probably enjoy Infinity War the most in 2018. It'll be the first time we've actually gotten a huge event with everyone in it as a movie. I think you guys will end up interviewing Snyder, mostly because Kong's name just keeps getting bigger and Morrison just got a TV show. I think he means King. So, yeah, King's name just keeps getting bigger and Morrison just got a TV show. But also because I think it would end up being funny if you guys got to interview Snyder when most of you practically worship the other two.
That's a fair point.
That's a really good point, Jimmy. I think Matthew Rosenberg will become a big name in 2018. He's starting Phoenix Resurrection, and his Kingpin was amazing. I want to see more from this guy.
Cool.
Great picks, Jimmy. I think those are all great picks, and I agree with you on a lot of them. So thank you so much for writing in, and we always love hearing from you. So hopefully we'll hear from you again soon.
Yeah, I think you probably were correct on a lot of the stuff that you predicted. Will we interview Scott Snyder? I think of the three, he's probably the most accessible, but I also think he's the most willing to do things like that. He's very giving.
I think we also made the best connection with him. Like at Comic-Con, we actually talked with his publicist. He met you. He said he would do an interview. It was just a matter of it not coming together.
Yeah, so I could see that coming to fruition.
Yeah. We had a similar bite with Tom King, but I agree with the fact that he's like so hot right now. I feel like he's just all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
Andy from the Video Game Pals is actually maybe going to meet him today down in DC because he's at his local comic book store.
Wait, him or Kieran Gillen?
Both. Gillen's going to be for a book club later. Tom King's there today for a panel.
Oh, snap.
Pretty cool. So then we also got thanks again for writing in, Jimmy. We always love hearing from you, buddy. So then we also got comment on episode 63, Is the Punisher Bad for Our Culture? That was last week's show, the one that I missed out on. And James McMahon, who I believe is a friend of Kel's, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he wrote in and he says, hey, I really agree that the Punisher is an important character because it shows a darker side of vigilantism. If done right, it shows the gray area, it shows these gray area sort of arguments that straight out the question, quote, just because he is killing bad people, is it all right that he is brutally going against the law? That is really just one of the easier questions it can bring up. Great topic and good points. Thanks, awesome. James.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I agree with you. I think that the Punisher is an important character in Marvel, in particular because vigilantism in Marvel is different than it is in DC, because in DC, Superman is a thing. And Wonder Woman is the thing, and they're gods, and you're not really going to stop them from doing what they want to do. Whereas we routinely see cops chase down Spider-Man, and Luke Cage and Daredevil's been arrested, and there's a lot more of a street level presence in Marvel Comics. The police in Gotham work with Batman, not against him, so it's very different. And I think that the Punisher existing in Marvel is important to show that what they do is definitely illegal, number one, and that the wrong person having the same sort of idea could lead to lots of death.
Right. Yeah, and I think the point that James made there, I think, is a really salient one. And I know I missed out on this conversation, so stop me if I'm retreading ground from last week. But I think the big thing for me with Punisher is, and I'm not a huge Punisher fan, but what I think makes the Punisher work, and it was one of the things we talked about in our review, is that I think he exists to hold a mirror up to stuff like that, and you're not supposed to identify with Frank Castle. Like, empathize with him, sympathize with him for the tragedy in his life, sure. But he's not a character that you're supposed to idolize. And to me, Punisher isn't the problem for our culture. It's the people that put him on a pedestal in the same way that we've criticized people that do that for Batman or the Joker or any other of these cool, like, edgelord characters. Like, they're not supposed to, like, or like Rorschach, right? Like, Rorschach's not the hero of Watchmen. Rorschach is a fucking disgruntled, sexually fucking repressed, bigoted man that you're not supposed to root for. He's supposed to be there to tell you something about vigilantism or about heroes in general. And I think when used right, Frank Castle can be really effective as a tool that way. And not that he's necessarily a character that you demonize, but that you're not supposed to look at his actions as heroic.
Right.
Sean, I don't know why you group Spider-Man in with those other wonderful Marvel heroes. He's a menace to society, and he should be chased down by the police.
You should be chased down by the police.
I read the Daily
for being
Bugle.
a meme.
Yeah, I read the Daily Bugle too.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys
That's
are
not
talking
a
about.
rag.
Yeah, that's news, guys.
It's a fucking tabloid rag.
Anyways, yeah. So thank you for writing in, both of you guys, and keep sending in those comments. We appreciate them, and of course, we'll read them on the air. I went over earlier how you can get to us. The easiest way to reach out to us with all your stuff is by writing in at thecomicspals@gmail.com. So definitely use that as a resource to get to us. And like I said, we'll read it on the air if we like what you have to say.
Yeah, we really love hearing from you guys, so definitely do that.
All right, so now let's do the pals polls real quick. So first up, let's do Phil.
So I'm doing the Anarky Complete Collection, which collects Anarky 1 through 6. If you guys played, I think he was in Arkham City, or
He was in Arkham City. Yeah.
So you might remember him from that game. He's like an anti-villain in that, like, his motives are altruistic, but his methods are not the best, obviously. And I think that character rubs up against Batman in a really interesting way, because Batman is this kind of Protestant Puritan type hero who, like, upholds the law to a T outside of his own obvious vigilantism. And having a character like Anarky rub against him, I think, is a unique dichotomy. And these 6 issues, which I haven't read in a long time, so it's cool that DC's collecting them, kind of underscores that. So if you got a chance, it's worth picking up. It'll probably be like $20 or something. So
It's pretty cool. I think that was a good sales pitch. You inspired me. I might have to purchase this.
That was exciting.
I know, right?
That was a good sales pitch.
I gave him a little script to say that, and he did not read it with any enthusiasm.
Hashtag not an ad.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, sell things for DC unless they want to pay me to do that.
I'm not trying to shill unless they give me money.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll show all day for cash. What? Please. And then Marco chose Kill or Be Killed number 15.
Yeah, Kill or Be Killed has been an awesome series. I love it. Brubaker's great. Phillips' art is like amazing. Have you been keeping up, Sean?
Yes.
Dude, I'm so excited for this arc. It's the start of a new arc, so like super pumped. Go pick it up. It's great. The first 2 trades should be out already.
Yeah, I think the 3rd trade is actually
is out
solicited for this upcoming week.
Oh, there you go.
Huh, that is a very interesting pitch, Marco. I'll be sure to buy that book.
Screw you.
Oh, the joke was, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck you.
And then you also chose Star Wars 42.
Yeah, I missed out on a couple of issues of. I haven't been up to date with Star Wars. I missed, I think, like issue like 37 or something. So like they were just kind of piling up. But I finally found it, and I've read through. So I'm looking forward to, like, this is current arc is the Ashes of Jeddah, and it's been an interesting arc. So like I'm excited to see where it's gonna go.
Cool, yeah, and I like Kieran Gillen on this.
Yeah, there wasn't like a huge shift. I feel like you can see there's like a little bit of a stylistic difference in the writing. But I feel he has to like find his footing, and then after that he's gonna be fine.
Sure, and I mean he's been playing in this space for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like the Vader series, so it feels right.
How long is this? Like, what issue are we on Vader? It's been going on for like 2 years, right?
Vader ended.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
is this a new series then?
Well, the series that Marco's referencing is Star Wars.
Oh,
proper.
okay. I'm sorry.
But Darth Vader relaunched with Charles Soule as the writer
Okay, because I know that they did a new number 1 like just a couple weeks ago, right?
a few months ago.
Yeah. I
it's
think
on,
it
like, issue
ended.
9.
It ended on 25. I think.
Yes, it ended
Yeah.
on 25.
It's a good run.
Yeah, very good.
I know you were really into that one, right?
Yeah, I was pumped for that.
I was obsessed
Awesome.
with that.
So good.
And actually, yeah, never mind. I was gonna reference that I interviewed them, but I didn't interview them. I interviewed the artist on Darth Vader, Salvador LaRocca.
Oh, really?
But I didn't. Yeah, I interviewed him with Phil actually, but I didn't interview them for us, so I was not going to say
We
it.
don't plug that.
And they're gone forever anyway. so
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. But anyways, so those are the Pals pulls this week. Of course, if you want to send yours to us, you can do so in all the aforementioned ways. Pete and Kale don't read comics, so there you go. So let's jump into the news, and we're going to start with probably the biggest announcement of the new year so far, which is that.
Stanley's penis?
Oh,
No.
there it is.
And
There
I thought
it
we
is.
agreed to not talk about that. But the biggest announcement of the year, which is the book that Bendis will first write for DC.
Oh boy,
And
here
as
we
it
fucking go.
As it turns out,
Kale called it.
hashtag Kale was right.
Yeah, Kale called it.
Yeah,
No,
he
Kale
really
called
was.
it. Hashtag Kale called it.
Oh, I like that actually. Hashtag Kale called it. I
There
like
you
that.
go. So Brian Bendis' first DC story will appear in Action Comics 1000. It will be one of the backup stories, so not the main story, but that's where he's first going to grace their pages, and the art will be done by Jim Lee, which is super cool.
Ooh.
That is really cool.
Yeah, that's a good match.
So, Kale, how does it feel to be right for once?
Excuse me, for once?
Yeah.
we should go ahead and rename this podcast Kale Was Right.
He gets one Riverdale prediction right before this, and now he thinks he's like fucking Nostradamus.
I know. I'm the only Nostradamus around here, buddy.
I don't knows about that.
Boo!
that was weak.
And you want us to rename the show after you after that?
Because I was right, not because of my comedic talents.
I also want to point out, and then you guys should react, that DC walked back the price. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Really?
Oh, did
No,
they?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they.
What a
So-
muddled fucking message this has been.
We talked about how they jumped it up to $50,
Right.
and they've since brought it back down to $30. So
Where it
that's
belongs.
for the hardcover edition. Sorry.
Where it belongs.
Yes,
I'm gonna get it.
Same.
I'm also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna buy it now that it's $30 again. That was when they announced it, I was like, that's an appropriate price point for this.
I like how they lost all of us, and then they brought us back with that.
Because we literally were all like, yeah, I'd pay $30 for that. And it's like $50. Like, no, not so much.
I'll be honest. I probably was gonna buy it anyway at $50.
Yeah,
I just.
so was I.
I thought about it after we did the show, and I was just like, you know what? Actually, I think I want this. So, any thoughts about Bendis writing this or being involved?
So I think when this was first brought up, I was like, I don't know Bendis' writing. You know, I didn't grow up with reading him.
You read like 16 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. That's about it.
That was it, and like, I mean, and like Powers, but like, it's
true,
but,
yeah.
it's like, but stylistically, it's different. It's very
Right.
different. So I'm excited to get into this, and then I don't know. I don't really read Superman anyway, so
We know.
so it's a good way for me to like kill two birds with one stone from an like artistic experience perspective.
I mean, I'm interested in it. I feel like we talked about this a lot when Kale brought up the possibility of it coming out.
Yeah.
So not to belabor the point, but I'm interested in it because like this is historical. Like this issue itself is historical. Bendis making the switch is a historic moment in comics. And despite the fact that I'm sure that Phil's going to get into it in a minute about all his problems with where this could potentially go wrong, I think Bendis writing Superman is a good fit. And I think to a point that you've made regularly, the reason he did this was because he had Superman stories to tell. So I'm excited to see him do something different because I do have that history with Bendis that Marco was talking about. You know, like Ultimate Spider-Man was a really formative book for me. Bendis was my favorite writer when I was like in my teenage years and like getting back into comics in the mid 2000s. So, but he really lost me in the last couple of years. I've regularly said I think he's been stretched too thin. And one of the things that's attractive to me about him going to DC is the idea of him doing like one book or one character. So, I am excited for his Superman run. And I think this is a really like, it's a really weird way to do it. Like, this isn't how I would have done his first Superman story, but I think it's pretty cool, actually. So I'm excited for this moment. Overall, I think issue 1000 of Action Comics is going to be a really cool thing we'll look back on.
I think that it speaks. I think in general, DC has been very thoughtful of its creators the last year or two.
Yeah.
And putting Bendis on Superman Action Comics 1000 is putting him over in a big way. That's making him seem like a really big deal, and they're pairing him with Jim Lee, who's the co-publisher of the company.
And what was it Sean said last week? They don't let him down from his ivory tower too often.
Exactly.
So him coming down to do this is cool.
Yeah.
I'm not confident in the quality of the book. I'm not traditionally a Bendis fan. I don't really like most of what he writes. I think that he writes the same way on every book, which is not inspiring. But we'll see. I mean, that's all there is to it. We'll see. I'm not super into where Superman's gone the last 2 years as it is. I am into the idea of a shakeup. If he's got stories to tell, maybe he'll write better than he usually does. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in full agreement. I've said my piece already about what I think about Bendis writing Superman. I think this makes sense.
Wait, you're in full agreement with who?
Oh, with Phil.
Okay. So you don't think it's going to be good?
That's not exactly what I said.
No. Phil's saying that if Bendis has a story to tell, that, you know, there's a good shot that it could be good.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And I think him taking part in something like this is cool for him. It's cool for us. It's a draw for the book.
Definitely cool for DC.
Yeah, they're making this the most impactful thing it can be, and I'm in favor of that. So they've now made the $30 price point even more worth.
More enticing.
I mean, this has to be the first monthly comic book to hit 1,000 issues, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is like,
as far as I know.
this is industry. Like, this is significant in the industry.
We should fact check that.
No, it definitely is. Yeah, it's the first comic to reach 1,000 issues, period.
It must.
And at the very least, it's the first superhero one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will talk about that book when it launches, for sure, when we all get the hardcover. So Sci-Fi has released a trailer for the Krypton series that they're doing.
So weird.
So this series is akin to Gotham or Smallville, except for the part where Clark / Kal-El is not a character in the show at all. The difference, which the trailer highlights, is that someone from the future goes to Krypton to tell Clark's or Superman's grandfather what his son will ultimately be, and warns him about a threat that's coming their way because they want to eliminate the chance of Superman ever existing. So, what do you guys think about the way the show looks and about that as a pitch?
So I thought it was a really good idea. I thought that it sort of upends your expectations like a lot. You know, it's not because when you guys said Krypton, I was like, oh, it's Superman.
Son of a bitch.
but
It literally doesn't even make sense.
No, but like looking at it, it looks just like a sci-fi show. Like it just looks like a science fiction show. Everything about it, the way it was shot, the way it looks like it's being produced was just very thematically consistent with that whatever niche genre is trying to hit. And I thought it was really well executed, at least from what I can see in the trailer. And to make that and still sort of connected to like DC Comics, I think is a really cool synergy. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
Just because there's no Superman.
specifically because there isn't specifically because it's a sci-fi show, like, not like the channel, but it's a science fiction show.
You're a huge fan of channel sci-fi.
I love it.
I could not be less interested in this. I have no interest in this show at all.
Is it because of the lack of Superman?
It's because of everything about it. Like, no, really, like, the pitch is not interesting to me. Like,
really?
that sounds like a cool idea for a comic book, like, but like a one-off. Like, that's like an Elseworld story. Like, I don't need a full sci-fi series for that. And the way that television works, especially like network television, granted this is cable, so it's a little different, but if the show is good, they're going to try to stretch it out as long as possible and make multiple season arcs. And it's like, it's not going to be like this cool, tight mini story. It's like, if it's good, and if it sucks, it'll suck. So it's like, I don't see a scenario where this is like good or interesting. And the premise of it, like, the pitch is dumb to me for the same reason Gotham is dumb. It's like, oh, Batman without Batman. It's like, that's the point, dude. Like, I'm not interested. Like, there's a reason that Superman's origin story took up one page or one panel or in any good telling of it. Like, I'm not interested in Krypton.
Panels.
I'm interested in Superman and Earth. And I like science fiction, but like the kind of science fiction that this looks like is not appealing to me at all. So
I guess it looked like almost like a Battlestar Galactica Star Trek thing, and I was like for it. I was like, yeah, she's using a blaster. There, that's me.
I was interested in the premise when I heard it, but there was all these nods and mentions of Superman in it, and that it just felt like Gotham in the sense where it's like you're doing a story that takes place in the setting of this character, but you're still mentioning this character who's not even relevant in the scope of when this show takes place, because that's the famous person from it.
right.
And I'm totally interested in a show about Krypton. Do whatever we want with it. I think there's plenty of stories that you could tell with something like that setting and stuff. But to have to constantly bring it back to Superman, not even Jor-El. You can tell a story with Jor-El, that's one thing. But Superman, it's just...
That's the thing. If it was about Jor-El, that might be interesting.
Maybe Superman is just a hook for the first couple episodes, but we'll see.
Or shit, if it was the story of his grandfather, this character that we're supposed to meet, right? Like, that might be cool.
Yeah.
But if the entire thing is predicated on someone going back in time to try and stop Superman from being born, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
about
exactly. That shouldn't be the hook. The hook should be that this is where Superman is from.
Yeah.
That should be the hook.
Or, an interesting story should be the hook.
Well, no shit. Definitely.
So I actually think this is a really, really cool idea.
Yeah.
I'm not as bothered as you guys by the idea of the hook sort of being that, they're trying to prevent Superman's birth by eliminating his people. I think that that's a way to grab attention from fans who may not otherwise tune in. Just a mention of Superman's like, oh, okay. Grounding it in something that they can recognize. That being said, though, I think there are so many interesting stories to tell on Krypton. Like Brainiac stories that you can go into. The story of, even Man of Steel presented what I thought was like really interesting politics. Yeah, like let's do a story about Zod or like, any of the other like rogue Kryptonians or like there's so many things you could do there. But I'm positive this show's going to do them. I think what they showed in the trailer is like, here's the most basic hook we could possibly do so that you will want to see this on a base level. So, like, I think you're right, but my fear is that, like, it just feels like Gotham. Like, I feel like it's going to be like, oh, yeah, like, Penguin's in Gotham, but it's like, but it's weird. It's Gotham different. Penguin. I don't know. It's different, though, because those characters existed on Krypton already. Yeah. Whereas in Gotham, obviously, they did that because nobody gives a shit about a show about young Bruce Wayne just hanging around in Gotham. Well,
if they made Gotham like Brubaker's Gotham City Police Department book,
Gotham,
that would have been fine.
Yeah, that's what it should have been, and then they didn't do that. And
that was the original pitch.
Right.
Oh, it's a story about Jim Gordon, and it's like I would watch that, but it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about Jim Gordon living in the shadow of Bruce Wayne, who's a fucking 12-year-old. Like, it's dumb.
And it's frustrating because it doesn't make sense, narratively speaking, to anybody who has had any sort of relationship to the Batman character, which again is different than most people's relationship to Superman, because I think Superman has strangely less exposure. So like people don't know as much about his world and his cast of characters that existed before him or that came to Earth from Krypton.
That's true.
So I think that there's a lot to mine there, and I think this could be really cool. Kel, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not interested. I think this show will go the same way that Gotham does. I think it'll be very similar mistakes and missteps, and I'm not interested. And even it's similar to Pete. You know, I think it's a good one shot, a good mini series, and I think there probably are very good stories to be told there, but like what they're using is the hook of Superman, and I'm not interested in that.
Oh, and also I love how, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the first time I saw it was an ad on Sci-Fi's Facebook. And it was like, oh, from the writer of The Dark Knight and Man of Steel. And I'm like, from the writer of the piece of Superman media that I think understands the character the least. Awesome. That really makes me feel emboldened that this is going to be a good story about Krypton and not some bad, dreary sci-fi thing that is embarrassed of its source material. Like, no thanks.
Well,
David S. Goyer, is that who wrote it?
No, that'd be Jonathan Nolan.
Yeah.
Right?
No, Goyer wrote Man of Steel.
But did he write Dark Knight, though?
He might have been a co-writer.
Yeah, he was part of it.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right
David
now.
S. Goyer sucks, so I think he's a bad screenwriter.
Yeah, no, he's a shitty superhero fan too.
Yep.
That's true.
In what sense?
He was shitting on people for like liking She-Hulk and Martian Manhunter.
Oh, right.
He was saying...
Yeah, he said he thought Martian Manhunter was lame.
And then he said, like, She-Hulk is a fucking male sexual fantasy or something, which, I mean, may be true, but I don't know. But, like, it's just shitting on people.
Yeah, it's David S. Goyer.
Oh,
I hate David S. Goyer as a writer, so...
Well, The Dark Knight was really good.
The Dark Knight is really good.
So,
He's just
can't be that bad.
He's a mixed bag writer, I think.
So, moving along, DC Comics has announced that their partnership with John Ridley is going to continue with a new series. Sounds really cool. So for those of you who don't know who John Ridley is the person who wrote 12 Years a Slave.
Academy Award winning film.
Nice.
Right.
So that's a major movie. And he has worked with DC already on a series called American Way. So there was American Way, and then the sequel, which is currently being published, is called As Above, So Below. So American Way, As Above, So Below.
Okay. What was American Way about?
Actually, I'm not sure what it's about. I haven't
recent
looked into it. Yeah, it's recent. Cool. It's an ongoing partnership that they have with him. But the book that he's going to be publishing with them now, it's a miniseries titled The Other History of the DC Universe. And basically what it's about is... It's about celebrating and putting the spotlight on characters who are quote-unquote marginalized. Basically what they're talking about is minorities. So women, people of color,
Excuse me, are you telling me that there aren't like two relevant non-white male characters in the DC universe? Please.
I don't know if there are. But yeah, so this is a pretty cool project. Sorry, Kale? Go ahead.
I know one of the characters they said was Supergirl, who they consider an immigrant, which makes sense, I guess. Yeah,
sure.
It's
They're
just
Kryptonians, dude. They're immigrants. Superman's the greatest immigrant story.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. It's gonna have Katana, Jon Stewart, obviously, who is like,
my dude.
Jon Stewart's the man.
It's my favorite Green Lantern, dude.
Yeah. So we don't know a ton about what this series is going to look like outside of what I just said, but this is pretty cool. And obviously, DC is happy with what American Way has been and how those books have performed, so they're going to continue that relationship with them.
They're fucking DC, dude.
They tag in like a great screenwriter from 12 Years a Slave, which is one of the best films from the last 8 years, frankly. And he And DC just keeps providing really good avenues for their talent.
Yeah.
This is another example of that, and this is a great idea.
Yeah, man. I mean, I am so emboldened by what DC is doing. Like, they're just making such smart moves in my mind. Like, pro business, pro consumer. Like, how do you beat that? You know, like,
It's a tough balance.
They're allowing people to stretch their legs artistically while also, like, you know, what do we criticize Marvel for the last, like, 2 years? Is, like, that they've been, like, really not been doing a good job of providing meat and potato comics that are, like, good or that are, like, resonating with their audience. And, like, DC's hitting them on, or they're hitting us coming and going. You know, like, if you do just want your meat and potatoes Batman stuff, it's like, well, cool. We've got what we think is the best writer in the fucking industry writing Batman right now. Great. Pick that up. Your mileage may vary on what they've been doing with Superman lately. But, you know, Wonder Woman's in a great spot with Greg Rucka.
That's over.
Well, I mean, like, that's been the case, right? So it's like, doing more stuff like this, and, you know, like we've talked about the Batman anthology, the Hanna-Barbera stuff, the fucking Young Animal, like, seeing them do more moves like this isn't surprising to me because they've been working on both a critical and commercial standpoint. So I imagine we'll see more stuff like this from them, and that's just good. It's just smart.
Healthy mix of extremely popular writers on their most popular books and then having experimental imprints at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good play. Obviously, he's a writer with a name recognition, so utilizing him in this capacity is cool. I just have the same problem with this that I do with the fact that Ta-Nehisi Coates hasn't written any non-black characters yet. You know, which is that okay? So he's black, so he's got to write all these, like, he's known for, like, Ta is black, so he's known for writing about black issues. So all the characters that he's going to get to write are black. Black Panther and the Crew, Black Panther, Rise of the Panther. Like, all the books he writes are.
Do you think that might be his choice, though?
Yeah, and in this case, it might be his choice as well.
I mean, I don't know if it's his choice or not. I'm just saying that when I look at it as somebody who's black and wants to have opportunities to write comics,
You don't want to be pigeonholed.
I don't like.
Seems
I don't like
salad.
the idea of being pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And then, like, every time that there's a like, if it's a woman, oh well, guess who she's writing? Other women. If it's a whatever minority you are, guess who you're gonna get to write? Like, it's always like that.
Yeah, if you're a white guy, you can write whatever the fuck
Like,
you want.
yeah, if you're a white guy, you get to write Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, and Captain America, and Iron Man. Like, doesn't matter.
And Black
So
Panther.
you get to create Jessica Jones and Miles Morales, but also write Captain America and the Avengers. Like, you get to be Bendis.
Yep.
I will say, I guess what's cool about this, though, is I like that it's about, like, you said it was about marginalized characters, and, like, Kel brought up they're going to do, like, Supergirl. So, like, that's an example. Like, he'll get to probably stretch his legs a little bit with this series specifically, since it's not just about black superheroes. It's about, you know, great. Like, you're right. It's still, like, minorities, but, like, Supergirl's a white woman, so, like, at least he'll get to, like,
with blonde hair.
at least he'll get to get outside of that a little bit with this series, it seems like.
Sure. It won't hit me, though, until he's writing Superman or Batman.
I think that's cool. That's legit.
So, moving right along, Oni Press has made some major announcements.
Yeah, baby.
Which are all really cool and interesting. So, it's their 20th anniversary year, and they've got several new announcements to make. So, this is huge, actually. They're changing from Diamond to Simon and Schuster as their book publisher.
Which is, like, enormous.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like they're one of the only relevant publishers to do that.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's going to make waves. I'm very interested to see how that sort of develops. But then, in addition to that, their co-founder, Joe Nazimek, has segued into the title of Chief Financial Officer. So he's making a big shift. And then their former editor-in-chief, James Lucas Jones, is replacing Nazimek as the publisher and is going to remain a co-owner of the company. So that's also huge. And they've got a ton of different changes that they're going to be making in addition to that. So many different new job titles and people kind of moving around. It seems like they're really trying to put their best people in positions to really take a lot of ownership over the company. And then I did want to point out that a lot of the changes are actually women moving up the ranks, which is really cool as well to see.
And it's a lot of like senior leadership too. Like it's a lot of people that have been there for a long time at different roles who are kind of moving around, which is interesting.
Yeah. So like Hillary Thompson is a graphic designer and she's being promoted to senior designer. So that's good for her. And then Angie Knowles moves from digital pre-press technician to digital press lead. So that sounds like a huge bump to me.
Yeah.
And then Rachel Reed is taking on the responsibility of marketing manager. And there are just so many different movements and shifts and stuff like that.
Really big restructuring, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. Nazamek had the following to say in a statement. 20 years ago, the comics mainstream was limited to science fiction and superheroes. Because of their increase in popularity, comics and graphic novels are the main growth category in bookstores and libraries, and now comic book shops have been able to attract a more diverse audience. That's exactly what Oni Press set out to do, make a comic for every person.
I would honestly argue that they're a big part of that too. Like, in my mind, like, and I know like Marco and I are probably the biggest Oni Press fans here just because we're both so into
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim and, you know, the other works that have been published there by O'Malley.
Yeah.
To me, like, Scott Pilgrim was the first book like that I was exposed to. You know, like the movie came out when I was like 15 or 16, and that was around the time they were publishing the last volume. And I had never read a comic that wasn't superheroes or science fiction or that was like about romance, you know? And granted, that obviously existed, but I think for like mainstream audiences for our generation, like that was my first exposure to stuff like that, you know? Or even like the idea of buying a graphic novel instead of singles in that way, you know, was like a thing that was unique to them. I'd never read a black and white comic before then either. Like, they definitely, to me at least, were the first publisher where I experienced something different than what I had before with comics, but that still spoke to me. So it's really cool to me that they're still around, that they're growing.
20 years is a long time
in this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No joke.
I'm happy for them. I don't think I read any Oni Press book at all. And to be honest, nothing that they've said here is about content. So it doesn't make me want to read anything that they're putting out. But hopefully with these announcements, we're going to see, I mean, it's the 20th anniversary. I would imagine that they're going to try to do some major things in the sphere of, you know, actual books. So hopefully they put something out that's worth my money. I mean, not that they haven't, just that it's not on my radar.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, Heartthrob.
Oh, you're right. Wow.
I forgot that was Oni Press.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome.
And if you guys are listening, I have a friend named Cale Ward who I'm sure would love to write for you.
You're not wrong. Hang on, let me check. Yeah, he's nodding. So yeah, no, I think he's game.
Cale, what do you think about this?
I'm not huge on you know the editorial side of things, other than Titan for obvious reasons.
What are those reasons?
It's weird. It's a weird conflict of interest that I hopefully will be taking advantage of.
Cale Nepotism Ward.
It's editorial teams and like the corporate structure of comics is just something I've never really been a part of or interested in. It sounds good. That's all I can really say about it. I like you, Sean. I don't go out of my way to look for Oni books except for like Kaiju Max.
Yeah.
But like. You know, I can only imagine that if they have restructured this so much, good can come out of it.
And just going back to the switch from Diamond to Simon & Schuster, like that's just huge in itself because Diamond is essentially a monopoly.
Yeah.
In comics publishing. So like that for a major publisher like that to make the switch, I don't know if that's going to have any like, resounding, like if that's going to be heard throughout the rest of the like the comics publishing world. Like I don't know what this means for maybe like a smaller press like a Black Mask or like even an Image, Boom, Dark Horse, like well, obviously we'll have to wait and see like what happens if anything. But I mean from that standpoint, like that's it's a ballsy move because I'm interested to see how their sales are affected after this. Because Diamond has like low key been known to sometimes like affect publishing like that, sort of shutting people out. So I'm interested to see what is the outcome.
Yeah, I would really love to get somebody from Oni on the show to talk about that decision, like why they made the move, because obviously it's business. Like they must be saving money or something. Like they must realize that, like, because I don't know, like you don't see a lot of Oni books in comic book stores. I feel like a lot of them get sold more in like bookstores, online, at conventions. Like maybe they've realized that publishing model, like they're not getting anything from being with Diamond and they could save money going somewhere else. And that if they do get wedged out of comic book stores, that like it won't matter.
Right. Yeah, totally. No.
I wonder.
It's a great thought.
I'm speculating, but
that's a really good thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Oni has a lot more, graphic novel presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't do many singles.
They'll release full trades, already completed, and which translates to easier bookstore sales, and even going just straight into the shelves at comic book stores. So it makes sense that they would go to Simon and Schuster, as opposed to Diamond, who ship mostly singles. Yeah,
like I wonder if like maybe they realize too that like, hey, like Diamond is like built to do single issues, so like it is more expensive to do hardcovers or floppies or whatever, and like that's fine if you're Marvel or DC and you're making your money coming and going there. But if there's no incentive for them to be there, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm with Marco where I'm really interested to see the fallout of this.
Yeah.
If there are other publishers that follow suit and what that means for Diamond.
Yeah.
Because like Marvel and DC aren't going anywhere, and like that's their bread and butter, so like they'll be fine. But it would be interesting to see the fucking monopoly get broken up. We need some fucking trust busting up in here, and we'll see. I don't know. Could be cool.
That's what we need, Phil.
We need to resurrect Teddy Roosevelt, get him up here, bust up some of them trusts.
Could be good. So, shifting over to Marvel, they've announced a new Exiles series. So anyone who's a fan of the Exiles comics, I remember them very fondly from the mid-2000s. The team is coming back, but they're not coming back quite the way that you remember them. And the team is actually going to be very interesting. So we've got Blink as the perennial Exiles member, the leader. Iron Lad, who is also known as Kang.
He's back? Did he ever leave? Or?
Iron Lad?
Yeah.
He's back.
I don't remember.
Maybe I'm misremembering. I could have sworn that the original storyline where they introduced him wrapped up with him like going back to the future, being like blinked out of existence or something. But
well, dude,
I don't remember.
It's Exiles. Anything is possible.
That too. Like these are alternate reality versions of all these characters pretty much.
Okay.
So like for example, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is on the team, but she's an old grizzled veteran of being a superhero and is only known now as Khan.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
That's really cool, man.
A chibi ex-baby version of Wolverine.
From the Mojoverse.
What?
From the Mojoverse.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I need to see this.
His name is Wolvie.
His name is Wolvie.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh my fucking god. This is amazing. Oh my god. Kamala's
really
rogue
cool.
hair too.
Yeah. And
that's badass.
Last but not least, Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, I saw that one. The headline for that. That's fucking badass.
So what's interesting about this is that the Valkyrie that we know from the comics is obviously not black and not, I mean, she's a blonde-headed white woman.
Not an alcoholic.
Right. So how does this sort of work? Marvel historically loves to introduce versions of their characters from the films into the comics. They did so with Nick Fury in the Ultimate Universe, and then transplanted him into the main universe through some shenanigans.
A very convoluted story.
Just to clarify, I think, because I don't think you misspoke, but it sounds like you said that they took him, that they put him in Ultimates from the movies, and it was the other way around.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Just one for the listeners.
He came first in the Ultimates, then he was black in the movies.
Yeah.
And then they made the Nick Fury in the
Nick Fury Jr. or whatever.
Yeah.
Very convoluted.
Right.
Very convoluted.
Yeah.
I always thought he was black. I don't know.
Well, it's because you're casual.
Yeah,
Ultimate Nick Fury is black because he legitimately, like, they straight up contacted Samuel L. and like, can we use your likeness? And he was like, yeah, whatever.
He used to be David Hasselhoff. Now he's Sam L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's accurate.
So, I mean, I think this is cool.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, I love the Exiles.
Me too. That was one of my favorite books in the mid 2000s. I'm interested to see where this goes. And who's writing it, Sean?
Oh yeah, that's right. So the creative team is actually really interesting. It's Saladin Ahmed, and the art's going to be done by Javier Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So Ahmed is currently on Black
Heard
Bolt,
of him.
which
Oh,
is
okay.
a book that a lot of people are really
lot of good
enjoying
buzz.
right
I hear it's
now.
good. Yeah, I heard it's good.
So I really like the creative team on this.
It's cool.
As we say on the Comics Pal show, it could be good.
All right, but I need more of a take than could be good.
I mean, I like I said, I think this is a fun concept. Like, I like, as much as I like serious superhero stories or whatever, like, it's fun when you just get something like this that doesn't take itself too seriously and is like just a weird mashup. Like, this is the fun of comic books that you can get away with, or specifically big two comic books in my mind, that you can get away with a team that has characters from 5 different universes, and one of them's literally a chibi cartoon version of the most edgelord character ever made. Like, that's cool. It's fun. I think it sounds like it could be good. It could be good, but it could be a fun, like, mini. You know, I don't necessarily need an ongoing with this team, but
you're gonna get it.
Well, what's fun about the Exiles is after a while they will shake up the roster and start doing new characters from new universes to shake up the roster.
Like, that sounds good.
Yeah,
I think this could be fun.
Yeah.
And I do want to add that this version of Valkyrie, well, all versions of Valkyrie are bisexual, but they are going to. That's going to be
canonically explore it
in this book.
So you're telling me that she's not going to date Chibi Wolverine?
No,
I mean,
she might.
She's gonna date future Chibi X-23,
or she could just date old Kamala Khan because old Kamala Khan is hot. The book drops.
Sean with the hot takes.
Yeah, the book drops April 11th.
All right,
so not too far away.
I probably picked that up in a trade. It looks off the walls. Like, it's cool.
Something to look forward to,
for sure. So, one thing that most fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have clamored for is a Black Widow movie. Where is my Black Widow movie? And now it looks like we might actually be getting one, because apparently Marvel Studios has commissioned a script from Jock Schaefer, who is a writer for The Blacklist, to write a film about the Black Widow.
This is so strange, because obviously it's cool. I'm into the idea of a Black Widow movie. I've been pro that for a long time. I think it makes sense. But I was really under the impression that Scarlett Johansson was done. So maybe she's not? Like,
I think she would come back for a solo film.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Black Widow movie would be right up modern ScarJo's alley.
Yes, that's her MO.
I think otherwise she'd be done, you know, and understandably, but where it's like, oh, I'm going to have my own film where I'm going to be paid very handsomely for it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that said, we don't even know that it will be featuring ScarJo.
That's
so
true.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe like after whatever happens in Infinity War, like
That to me seems like a weird choice, though. Like, why would you do it now when you lose? Like, because it's like
It would feel too late.
not only that, but like Scarlett Johansson is literally the most bankable
Female actor
actor.
next to Jennifer Lawrence.
More, I would say.
She's the second highest
paid actors.
Earning.
like, yeah, she's got the highest, like, what's the word?
Gross.
Yeah.
True.
So this writer Schaefer, she has a pretty extensive history as far as what she has worked on, which does give me hope for this being good. She made her debut in 2009, writing a Tribeca film called Timer, which she also directed, so she's got chops there as well. And then I mentioned Blacklist, which was a... It's actually kind of weird. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I guess it's like there was something in that called The Shower, and it was a sci-fi action comedy with Anne Hathaway.
Oh, yeah.
The movie was called The Shower.
That's what this article from The Wrap is saying. So, interesting stuff. But she's got a history to her. She's done quite a bit of work. So I'm excited to see what she puts together, and if we ever even get to see this movie. I'm not 100% convinced that it comes out.
Yeah, it might not even happen. But in the event that it does, enough people want to see this. And for the longest time, she was like the only female character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that like fought bad guys. So I think it'd be fine. It'd be good to reward those fans.
I just think it's a no-brainer. Like, just do it. Make the movie. Like, we saw with Captain America 2 that tight superhero spy thriller was great. Worked out fine.
You just gotta get Jeremy Renner in there.
I mean, I don't think you need that, but I wouldn't be against it. Like, I wouldn't be against the idea of like a... back in time when they were partners, they're on a shield. Like, that could be fun. It could be good, and let him play second fiddle.
Yeah, or I mean, they've made reference to prior adventures that they had.
Yeah.
Like, what was that? The thing in Avengers where they're like, oh,
This is worse than this thing.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I remember that time and wherever. Like, yeah, let's go see that. Or like, I'd watch a fucking Black Widow Nick Fury team up. That'd be cool. Nick Fury's got a mission.
And 2 eyes.
Let's go in. I'll send you in. Like he's the guy in the chair. Maybe he shows up for the fight at the end. Like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Sure, absolutely.
There's so many ways you could play a Black Widow movie and like literally just give me a decent spy movie starring Scarlett Johansson. People are gonna fucking show up for that shit.
I think I'd rather see a movie with a giant Black Widow.
Get out.
I'd rather see a giant Black Widow eat you,
Well, I'd watch that movie.
yeah, I would too.
but I want to see it in real life, like not.
I want to watch a giant spider suck all of the juices out of your body.
And back to Stan Lee's penis.
What?
What? That's the cameo in that movie.
So I'm way more excited about the potential of a Black Widow movie than the movie we're about to talk about, because apparently Fox is looking for Tim Miller to work on a Kitty Pryde film. He is allegedly currently producing a Kitty Pryde movie that Fox would potentially release. Now, I have several questions about the prospect of such a film. One being, Fox is getting ready to be purchased by Disney. Or, well, they tentatively are purchased by Disney. So, how does that work out? Also, do we need a Kitty Pryde movie?
Yes.
Holy shit.
My fucking dude right here. My fucking dude.
I wasn't expecting that reaction, if I'm being honest.
We need a Kitty Pryde movie.
No.
Nightcrawler needs to be her sidekick.
Oh.
Lockheed needs to be in the movie.
Oh, Pete, this is why we do this together.
Bye, we're boys.
Kel, what do you think?
I wouldn't turn my nose up to a Kitty Pryde movie.
Boom.
There you go.
You know who else wouldn't turn his nose up to a Kitty Pryde movie? Fucking Bendis.
Sorry, Kitty Pryde is fucking great.
I love Kitty Pryde as a character.
She's a dope character. Yeah.
I love Kitty Pryde. I grew up with Kitty Pryde. Don't see a reason for a movie. I feel this way about a lot of the X-Men. I think that one of the dumber things that Fox has tried to do is make all of these solo X-Men movies. The Gambit movie just lost its third director. They can't get that thing off the ground.
Poor Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Deadpool was a success, but Deadpool also has legs and has been a success in the comic space.
He's also not an X-Man. Like, I know he's associated there, but he has like a solo brand more than most X-Men.
Yeah. Sure. But like the point is that they try to make these they were going to make a Cyclops solo movie. I'm a huge Cyclops fan. I don't think that makes any level of sense.
So my question is, would you see a Jean Grey solo?
No. I mean, would I go? Would I go? Yeah, of course I'll go. But should they make it? No, that's dumb as hell.
I almost got him to say, no, I wouldn't see that.
So my whole thing is, I agree with that sentiment. I don't think a Kitty Pryde, like a movie that's starring Kitty Pryde, shouldn't be just about Kitty Pryde. Like, it should be about her with a small team, because that's like where she shines in my mind. You know, like, that was Excalibur, the Ultimate X stuff, where it was them like underground and she's the leader of the remaining X-Men. Like, there are plenty of stories with Kitty in a leadership role with a few other like young mutants around her that play.
Honestly, I would be down to see like Kitty Pryde and Colossus film.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I was actually going to bring that up. They already set up Colossus in Deadpool too, and people liked him. Like,
I want that relationship on the big screen now.
You can bring a Nightcrawler and Lockheed. That'd be dope.
Let's have the child sex relationship.
Okay, all right.
Let's take adult Colossus.
That's not what we're going for, Sean. No, it's true love.
Underage Kitty Pryde.
No, Sean.
And showcase that
no.
on screen. Rated R.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Stan Lee's penis.
Listen, just because Marco likes to watch anime and it's sexualized young women, doesn't mean that you can make fun of his interests like that, okay?
Kale's having none of this shit.
I'm just saying.
It's not illegal in Russia, Sean.
Oh, okay.
I was down for a Kitty Pryde Colossus rom-com up until that came up, and now I'm out.
But is that not... I mean, listen, let's face facts.
She was like 14 and he was like 19 or something.
That wasn't cool.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like the Reed and Sue Storm storyline was that for a while too. I mean, you know, that stuff gets retconned, gets written out.
Yeah, they wouldn't write that into the movie.
Yeah, they'll age her up.
All right, but guess what's going to happen when they make that movie? Guess what articles are going to be published?
# not mine.
Fox making a movie about adult male who rapes child and their relationship.
It was statutory, Sean. It was consensual sex.
I'm done with this.
Just a minor.
No.
I'm just saying, this is what happens.
There's no minors in space, Sean.
Let's bury this topic in the cold, hard ground.
So... I don't know. I honestly
There's
don't.
a joke about Stan Lee's dick there, Phil.
Let's leave all that out. I don't see this movie getting made. I don't see this happening.
Could be good.
We'll see. Now, we have to talk about something that we'll all be far less comfortable with than we were talking about the relationship between Colossus.
That's saying a lot.
Stan Lee's penis.
Oh, no. There it is.
See,
no?
I don't think we're going to be uncomfortable talking about it. This whole episode has just been a fucked up charade.
I feel like you just wanted to say charade.
I mean, it was the first word that came to mind.
There you go. So we are talking about Stan Lee. By now, most people have probably heard the allegations about Stan Lee and what he has been doing. So the story was broken initially. I'm sorry, Marco is making very immature gestures with his fingers.
Got called out.
I had to. Initially, we learned from Mail Online
which is a fucking rag. Just want to point that out. I just hate the Daily Mail. It has nothing to do with the story.
So they broke the story initially. Two stories, in fact, regarding the allegations that Stan Lee had assaulted some nurses at his home from a particular nursing care company and a hotel massage therapist at C2E2. So those were the initial allegations. Stanley defended himself and his lawyers defended him by calling them a shakedown, quote unquote, which is the most Stanley thing to say. Absolutely.
They're just trying to besmirch my good name.
Now, of course, throughout this process, people have come out to defend Stanley. People like Pete have said that the Daily Mail is not a reputable website, which certainly it has made a lot of false allegations and accusations about various stories.
Just to clarify, like the Daily Mail is like in many ways a tabloid. Like they regularly write about celebrity gossip and things that are patently not true. So that was where my jab at them was coming from.
So that I think was where a lot of people were kind of leaving it, the space of like, we don't know if this is true or not, but this is pretty weird.
Yeah.
If anything, could Stanley do this? I don't know. Maybe he's done some messed up stuff to other people, but that's a far cry from sexually assaulting anybody.
Sure.
However, shortly after the initial wave of allegations came out, Bleeding Cool, who have been, they've been the champions lately of telling these stories. Of course, Rich Johnston broke even more news about this subject. And, brace yourself because this is about to get super uncomfortable. So
it sure will.
Yeah. So this is from the Bleeding Cool article. 2 days ago, a prominent comic book creator offered an alternate perspective after reading these reports, writing online about attending a comic book convention last year and meeting Lee again. Ah man, I only believe this because the last time I saw Stan, he gave my wife a little grope and an extended kiss. I thought it was funny at first because he's Stan Lee. He was 94 at the time, and while strange, I thought harmless. My wife even cracked up. But reading this story makes it a lot less funny. And his wife joined the thread to back it up, saying, true story. At the time, thinking about it, it was funny. Little old man, comic legend. He pulled me on his lap and full on kisses me. I laughed it off. But yeah, that totally happened to me too. So that was that. And then of course people came out to say that she was lying or deny her story. And she said, so you're saying I wasn't groped and he didn't try to stick his tongue down my throat while my husband was watching during a meet and greet? That was 6 months ago, by the way. So 6 months ago from now. So this was at a comic convention that took place 6 months ago. I don't know which one it was. I haven't really tried to track it. Thinking it could have been Philly, but I don't really know.
I don't know that he was there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably figure it out with a little bit of effort, but yeah, it's irrelevant.
Right. And so then the Bleeding Cool artist says, a very senior A-list creator added, I remember you telling me this at the time it happened. I am sorry this happened to you. I remember how much you looked forward to meeting him that day. So that is corroboration that Stan Lee has done this to someone who has no reason to lie and there's no real gain. And this is a husband and wife saying it and then a third individual corroborating the story.
I also think when you read the tone of these, it like there is no reason to lie because what would they possibly have to gain from it, right? Like they're not trying to blackmail him or anything like that. They're just like, oh yeah, no, like hearing this story, something like this is like I remember him doing something kind of shady like this too,
right? And for them, in the context of their experience divorced from this new information, it's like, oh yeah, it's just Stan, like it's just an old guy, like which. To be fair, media has portrayed old men as perverted, like on television and in film,
and that there's always like a harmless nature to it.
Funny.
That's funny,
yeah.
It's cute,
it's played up for humor. So the fact that they would have reacted that way in their experience with him in that moment is not a surprise at all.
No.
And why they wouldn't say anything, because to them, it was nothing. But now that all of this is coming out, it's like, yeah.
It puts it in a new light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any kind of like reaction to that initial?
Yeah, I mean, I not really. Like, when this story broke, I very much came at it from the angle of, look, this sounds plausible, right? Anybody who knows anything about Stan Lee beyond the very, let's say, revisionist way that I think the public looks at him now, that he's,
lovable grandpa.
Yeah, right. The lovable grandpa who created Spider-Man. And, I think the reality of the situation is that we have an issue, I think, in our society of like trying to paint real life people with the same kind of brushes that we paint fictional characters. And like Stan Lee isn't a wholly good person, or, and I don't believe he's a wholly evil person either. But it's the thing of like, I was doubtful of this story because of where it came from. I don't trust the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail's a tabloid. They had an anonymous source, and it's the kind of thing that, like, while plausible, it wasn't provable. And until there was a person who was willing to say, hey, I'm, whoever, I'm Jane Doe. I needed a name. I wanted a person to come out and say, this happened to me, not a tabloid magazine. And these are real people. These are real people saying this happened. That's a totally plausible story. Like, the way she described it is like, yeah, I could see that happening at Comic-Con, right? And so yeah, I mean, I believe it.
All right. Well, now let's travel back to the original allegations about the massage therapist and the nurse situation.
Yeah.
Because that's been followed up on significantly. Now, Nancy Grace, who I am no fan of myself, has a show called Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, and it airs on Sirius XM. And the more recent episode of that show focused in on the sexual harassment allegations involving Stan Lee. Now, Alan Duke was on the show. He is a co-producer of the show, and apparently he has been on Stan Lee's case about this kind of thing for several years. So for some time now, he's been involved with this. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read his words, Duke's words from the show, and that'll build the story here, and then we can just react to it overall. So the following is from Duke. Well, I've been on Stan for several years, and people know I know. So sometimes when things happen in his world, they reach out to me. And that's what happened. I was recently asked for help by a young lady who was hired by a nursing company to take care of Stan Lee. And it was a rather disturbing text, one that could not be ignored. So I started digging into it, and what I found was that there was not just one, but maybe as many as 6 nurses who were making allegations against Stan Lee. And then Nancy Grace asks him for the text. And the text is, "Hi, Alan. Maybe you can help me. Stan Lee," and then she names an employee of Stan Lee, "tried to rape me. The employee ripped off my shirt and this is what it says, grabbed by my breast."
Okay, real quick. Is there a period there?
Yeah.
Stan Lee's employee tried to rape me? Or is it...
Okay, I'll read it again.
Yeah.
And then she names an employee of Stan Lee, tried to rape me. The employee... period, ripped off my shirt and grabbed by my breast. That's how it's written.
Okay.
So he said he would kill me if I tried to go to the police. And the following is from Duke. So we've not substantiated that this actually happened. In another communication, she indicated that she has actual phone video of some of the things to corroborate this. But the bottom line is this unleashed a whole investigation that's going on. I will say it is not a police investigation. So that's not great. That's terrible. So he continues on. I have documentation of as many as 6. And as Alexis said, Alexis is a co-host on the show, or I think it was Dr. Bethany suggested, also co-host. more could come forward. But these were women who were giving 24-hour around-the-clock care. In one of the communications with one of the nurses, she writes that as this incident happened, this alleged attempt rape happened, that Stan thought it was funny, that he was laughing. And I can tell you from sources who know him, even though he knows that the allegations are being made public, he's not taking them seriously. Because keep in mind, at Dr. Bethany, you can talk to this is a 95-year-old man who's as rich as you can imagine. His movies have sold more than $20 billion in tickets. So he doesn't have a care in the world. His wife died, and frankly, he's not taking this. I mean, his lawyers are, but he doesn't seem extremely concerned about what's going on. And then Duke follows up. None of them, the nurses, have gone to the police. Several of them have gone to lawyers, and the lawyers have been exchanging letters from Stanley's lawyers. Now, it would be the Los Angeles Police Department or their particular jurisdiction, and I'm not aware of anyone who has gone to them at this point. As this one nurse told me, she's afraid because she says she's been threatened with her life, and the person, not Stan Lee, but the person who made the allegation, I do have copies of his criminal record, which shows he actually has convictions for violence. And then the article goes on to talk about what the lawyers have said and, various things of that nature, and yada, yada, yada. There is another very disturbing allegation in this article, that alleges that Stan Lee was actually abusing Joan. And I don't know if this is true. The Bleeding Cool article itself kind of calls into question Alan Duke's true knowledge of this whole situation, just because why is it that people are texting Alan Duke? If you want to read more of the article, you can read it for yourself. I'm not going to get into all of the stuff. I've covered enough. But obviously this is heavy stuff. So what are we thinking?
Well, now you can see why the game at the beginning of the show was in such poor taste.
So the Duke stuff, right? A lot of that's news to me, so I'm processing some of it. But the thing that stands out to me is like this situation is like really muddy and interesting. Not obviously not interesting in a, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt, please. Just because there seems to be two separate stories here, right? Like Stan Lee is obviously involved in this other assault, and if he was there watching and laughing or whatever, like that's horrifying. But that's almost a separate issue from these like 6 other women who've come forward saying that he did, the like exposing himself and the original reports that we heard. So I'd be interested to hear if there are going to be more developments in this story that we'll learn that there were more cases of like violence or issues with this unnamed employee, or was that an isolated incident? Like, how did this person with a violent criminal history even end up in the employ of Stan Lee? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more to this story that we might not ever get.
I mean, I think this is far from over.
Yeah.
I don't think that you get to the point where you're hearing about all these different allegations, all these different people who were assaulted, all this kind of craziness, and then it just goes away. I don't think Stan Lee has the power to make it go away. And I think that obviously his lawyers are aware of this and that there are talks that are currently undergoing. What's weird to me is that the police haven't been involved, or at least it doesn't appear that they've been involved. And at first I was like, okay, if Stan Lee, like the idea of Stan Lee exposing himself and like groping women at a nursing home or whatever is so not even like weird. Like it's weird. It's not cool. It's terrible, but it's not shocking. It's like, yeah, Stan Lee would do that. Sure. Fine.
And like that stuff happens in a nursing home, like dementia patients, and
exactly.
Nurses deal with that all the time. It's not right, but it's a factor of.
But there's a dissonance there, because I have friends who work at nursing homes in that capacity, and like it's one thing, like there's a difference between being groped by someone who's not at the proper mental facility, because oftentimes the people I know that do that, they understand. Like, it's part of the job. Like, it's not out of malevolence. It's out of lack of cognizance. But
Right.
there are also certain people that do it because they're disgusting humans, and those are the ones that are actually troubling for those people that work there.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And that's what this sounds like to me, as someone is aware of it, because these nurses are horrified by it.
I think the point Sean was making, though, is that there was a version of this story where Stan Lee is a 95-year-old man in the throes of dementia, and we're not vilifying those actions, but saying that they're not being done they're being done because he's losing his mind, not because he's a pig. Whereas this update changes that tone of the story.
Oh, well,
and not even necessarily, because again, it's like, if he is a senile old man and one of his employees raped one of his nurses and he's in the throes of dementia, it also doesn't necessarily mean that he was there cheering the guy on. It's like, we don't really know. But I'm saying, like, I agree with you. Like, this has taken on a much darker tone for me than when we heard the initial allegations, even if they were true.
Yeah.
Well, my take is this. Like I said in the beginning, if you're gonna tell me that Stan Lee is a pervert, I'll believe you. Like, I'm not saying I'll believe you just because you tell me, but if you can, like,
plausible.
The idea on its face is plausible. It's not crazy to me that could be true.
Not at all.
Whether it's because he has dementia or just because he's an old white dude who, existed in an era where men got away with everything they wanted to get away with, and he's been powerful for longer than he wasn't.
And he's also rich.
And he's rich. So, like, yeah, I could believe that.
Sure.
That he's a pervert, that he's a pig, but that he's a rapist, that was like a harder sell for me.
Yeah.
And also because the original information was coming from a website I don't trust.
Right.
But not that Bleeding Cool is like the paragon of truth, but they're doing the reporting.
Akira Yoshida, like, they broke that story. Like,
Right.
and again, they didn't like this came from other people.
And
like,
the Alan Duke thing.
Yeah.
The Alan Duke thing.
The creators' comments from the con.
Right,
like,
and the creators' comments from the con. I believe that 1,000%. I have no reason not to believe that. And if he did do that, which I'm assuming he did, because I don't see why these people would lie, I still don't think that's cool. I think it's weird as hell. But the people in the situation who are not me didn't think much of it when it happened.
Again, because I really do, and you can argue that it's a cultural thing, but I think it is the difference of, hey, this is a 95-year-old legend, and yeah, what he did was inappropriate, but
That's how
that's
they took
Stan
it. They
Lee.
laughed.
Like, yeah, right.
Right.
Like, they laughed at it, and that's way different.
When you add in the Alan Duke portion of this, that's when I start to think, are we talking about a guy who is actually an evil person?
Yeah.
Or are we talking about a guy whose wife just died, who is 95 years old, and who is losing it?
Yeah.
And doesn't know what's going on in those instances, and is employing people. Who knows if he hired them or if he has someone who's
Stan Lee's not hiring people.
right, who hired somebody who is an evil person, and who knows what this person is doing to Stan, or what he might have done to Joan. If Alan's allegations are true, that he saw a picture, I didn't want to go into it, but he says that he saw a picture of Joan Lee looking sad and bruised. And the allegation that he's making is that Stan or someone in Stan's employ was abusing her, and that's actually why she died. Now, that's like a whole other can of worms. But am I going to believe that Stan Lee was abusing his wife? I don't know if I can believe that or not. But if you're going to tell me that a guy is raping women in front of Stan Lee and telling them that he's going to kill them, could that guy also be abusing elderly people? Yeah.
Totally likely. Right. Like, that's a situation where you have a violent person in a position of power and probably very little to no oversight.
And I'm about to stop talking, but I just want to make it clear. I'm not trying to say that Stan Lee has no culpability. I'm not trying to say that I'm not willing to believe that he did anything wrong in any of these instances. I'm not trying to defend Stan Lee. I don't give a shit about Stan Lee. Let me just make that clear. Like, I respect what he's contributed to comics, but I don't know him personally. I don't have a relationship to him. I have no interest in defending him.
Right.
I'm simply stating that it sounds to me like there's more to this story than we know, and that there could be a situation here where this is a guy who is out of his mind and dealing with people around him who don't have his best interest in mind and who are using his money and power to hurt people, to hurt women. And maybe to hurt Stan. And I don't know the fullness of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that disclaimer goes across the board, right? None of us are here to defend him. But that's also that's not what we do, right? We call ourselves journalists because we're trying to have a conversation about the story. And the reality is we don't know the full picture here. And either of the scenarios you just laid out are equally plausible.
So.
And, yeah, I'm totally with you there. We don't know. We don't know where Stan Lee's responsibility is here. We don't really have an understanding of where he is mentally, or who else is even involved.
Any other takes, guys?
I think this story gets worse before it gets better. I don't think
it will get better.
Yeah, I think this is you say we don't have the full story yet. There's going to be more that comes from it, and I think that is only going to get worse.
Yep, and I think regardless of who is ultimately the guilty party, whether we walk away here thinking it's Stan Lee's unnamed employee or it's him, I agree with you that we're going to learn a lot more unsavory details about this story, regardless of who is ultimately responsible for, the real shit here.
It's gonna suck. What do you think, Marco?
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna learn more, and at this point, there's just a lot of unknowns. But where it seems like it's heading, it's not anywhere we want to be, and sort of. So, we'll obviously provide updates as this comes out, but I don't know. It's just it's unsavory, and I guess all we can really hope is we find out what happens, and we learn the truth, and we do what's right ultimately.
Yeah.
Kale, what do you think, man?
I don't know. We've talked about quite a bit of this as it has come out, throughout the week and everything, and I may be leaning further toward, yeah, Stan Lee's a piece of shit. He's always been a piece of shit. Everybody knows that, or everybody should know that. Everybody who's knows anything worth their salt in comic books should know that, even just based on the credit situations with the Marvel characters. You can say that this situation is separate from that, and because it's just shitty business dealings or whatever, and that's true. But I think that's a very good portrait of his character, and that's that's not even counting the misogynistic era that he comes from, and his shitty tendencies as a misogynistic old man. So I what am I supposed to think other than yep,
checks out.
The thing about Stan Lee being kind of a crummy guy is the worst kept secret in comics. A lot of people have jumped on in the last 10 years, and they know Stan Lee is this lovable guy who shows up in as a cameo in every Marvel film that he has some kind of hand in. But that just ignores 40 years of his history, and I think your comments about his character are fair. And if it turns out that this situation is the worst possible situation for Stan Lee, I don't think any of us would be surprised. It would be extremely unfortunate. It would be unfortunate that it happened, and it'd be unfortunate for the people that he abused, but it wouldn't be surprising.
If it turns out that Stan Lee is a rapist, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge jump, man. The point about
a dude in a position of power uses it to take advantage of other people. Not me.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, again, if you let me finish my point, yeah, it is a huge jump to say that somebody who acts shady in their personal life is also a rapist. I'm not saying that, man in a position, I get the comparison you're making, but like that they're very different things. And I think like we make that comparison at our own peril. And my whole issue with this story is that the narrative has been, oh, well, it's plausible, so let's believe it. And like, that is us as a community buying into a story before it's even been told. And we got all this new information that totally changes the tenor of the story. So I agree with what you're saying, right? I'm not defending Stan Lee. I'm not speaking to his character, but I'm saying that you can't just say, oh, well, it seems plausible, so let me believe it. That's a really, really dangerous way to think. And I would ask everyone on this show and everyone listening to this show to hold yourself to a higher standard. Like, wait for the story, like, make the decision based on the information, not based on something because it seems plausible or because, you know, like, I'm not defending what he did to Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko. That has nothing to do with him being a rapist.
I'm not saying that he did do any of this. I am saying that if it were true, if it comes out as true, I wouldn't be surprised.
I've already said that.
Yeah,
I said it the day it happened.
I am just clarifying for at least the listeners' sake.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm not on the jury. I'm not being asked to make the final decision. I'm some shit brain who's a fan of comics on the other side of the world. My opinion of this has no bearing on the situation. You know, there's no real gravity to my opinion, so I'm going to stick with it. Like I buy it, and this this is complete speculation and is gonna come conspiratorial and even ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if the dude in his employ is some. Stanley's fucking 95? Some 50-year-old who he's had in his employ for 40 years.
Oh, come on.
We don't know.
Dude's the most, at one point in time, was the most powerful dude in comics. He's a billionaire, at least.
No, he's not. That's not true. That's what I'm saying. It's like that kind of speculation. You're not doing yourself any favors, man. Like, you're just speculating wildly.
Who should I be doing favors for? I'm not doing favors for anybody. Like, it's not like I said, like same principle. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I think that the old adage from one of my favorite movies of all time applies here in this moment when we're talking about Stan Lee. And that is that you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
I was thinking that the whole time.
Stan Lee, just a few months ago, the narrative around you was that you agreed to do an extra convention in Florida to help with relief and to raise money for people who were affected by the flood. Or I should say the hurricane. Now, we're talking about you as a groper at least, and a rapist at worst. And this is the darkest timeline.
Nice community reference.
So, with that, I think we're good to wrap up this conversation about Stan. Obviously, as Marco said earlier, we will update you on this as this thing unfolds. It sucks. No one wants to talk about it, but it is what it is. And we have to hold everyone's feet to the fire, including the legend known as Stan Lee. So if you have thoughts about this or any other topic that we discussed on the show, you can get to us in a variety of ways. You can stop by on iTunes, and while you're there, you can leave a comment and, of course, leave us a like and a rating you deem appropriate for our show. You can hit us up on social media. We are at The Comics Pals, wherever your social media is sold. You can write to us at thecomicspals@gmail.com, where you can hit us with your random question of the week, a buy or sell, or your thoughts on this or any other subject that we've talked about on this or any other episode, because we need validation. And then,
especially me.
There you go. And then last but not least, as I've said, we are on YouTube, where you can leave us a like, drop us a comment, share the video with your friends, thus letting them know that we exist and that you like what we do. And the most important thing you can do is hit that subscribe button. If you have a friend and for whatever reason you just happen to have access to their YouTube account, why don't you just go and subscribe to our channel on their YouTube account. Just leave them that gift. When they get on their computer again or when they access their YouTube again, they'll have Comics Pals videos to watch. That's the best gift you could give them in the new year.
Or make a fake Gmail account. Just make an extra one and just go subscribe.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that'd be great. So with that, let's do some plugs. Pete.
Cool. Thank you guys again so much for joining us here on another episode of the Comics Pals. I really appreciate doing the show for you guys every week. So thank you so much. If you want to get some more content from me, you can check out my writing over at cbr.com. You can also follow me at @loud_Pete on Twitter and Instagram to talk to me about any of the stuff we discussed today or video games, pretty much anything. I'm up in the chat. And if you want to get more content from me here at the Pals Network, you can catch me and Sean tomorrow on our video game podcast, The Video Game Pals. And you can catch me Monday through Friday on our Let's Play show, Pals Play, which should be returning. I'm not going to say next week. We'll say 2 weeks. We took a little bit of a hiatus. We're doing some retooling on the show. Me and Thompson are coming back with some really cool, fresh new stuff for you guys, as well as finishing up Dishonored and Life is Strange. So make sure you tune in for all of that. Oh, and Doki Doki. Tune in for all that.
Doki Doki.
Cool. Kale?
You can find my stuff with Panels Publishing on selfie.com/Panels Publishing, as well as on Comixology under Panels Comics. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TotoIntow. That's TOTOINTOW. And make sure you hang around next week for the Riverdale review. When that comes out,
We're back, fam!
We will be back on the case for the inevitable conclusion of the Black Hood murders, because everybody knows it's not done.
Marco?
You can find me at Mr. Marco Animoto on Instagram and Twitter. I'm reading Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, which I am enjoying very much. Thank you, Phil.
Marco's a scissor man.
I am a scissor man.
Tweet at Marco and tell him he's a scissor man.
Please, I need to leave the tentacle gang.
Hashtag scissor Marco.
Hashtag tendrils.
Phil?
Yeah, you can find me at Twitter at Relic Vampire. You can just talk to me about how I need to get a haircut and how bad anime is.
You're a fuckboy.
All right, then. That's an opinion.
He's at Cyborg Bebop.
You can find me there and on Instagram at Cyborg Bebop. That's CYBORGBE Bop. A Cyborg Bebop.
Cool. And I am at Sean Soapbox on Twitter only, where you can talk to me about anything, including and most preferably
Pirates.
Jean Grey.
Stan Lee's penis.
Oh, there it is.
And with that, we're the Comics Pals signing off. Take care.
We'll see you next week.